Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We have a very special treat for you. It is the Canadian Stampede, years early special treat, a Canadian pay-per-view. And if you will, we will jump right into this one. Let's check it out. Here is the card. 2 pre-show matches. 7 main card matches and 12 segments total. And we got a lot of exciting action, and let's jump right into this one. I liked the fact that we were kind of especially coming out of WrestleMania 5. In an event that was definitely a huge change of the guard, so to speak. I figured, it was time to, kind of move forward from the monthly supercards and instead kind of go with themed pay-per-view types. So you saw the Crockett Cup. Now we are doing the Canadian Stampede. There was a few TVs in between, so that's why it took a little bit longer. And I hope that you guys are happy that I'm back. I'm surely happy that I am back. And again, thank you for joining me. And for any Canadian viewers, this one is for you. So far, I think Crockett Cup is definitely going to be a staple for the foreseeable future. So be expecting that next year. And also, if you guys like this, comment down below, leave a like for sure. Let me know what you think. Essentially, the biggest thematic change is just that it is in Canada. And for pay-per-views, the popularity crossover doesn't have as much bearing as it does for TVs. For players of TEW, you probably have noticed going to different regions for TVs. You will definitely see that if they don't have strong popularity in a popularity-based promotion, it'll have a large impact, despite the fact that they are super over, in their home region, or, wherever you host most of your shows. Pay-per-views, I do think, though, that there is carryover, if that makes sense. So, definitely I did try to book people who are mostly popular in Canada, which a lot of that comes from just being popular across the board. So, I brought out a lot of the heavy hitters. Not to mention, I think it brings some realism because, you do have to treat fans in Canada, in England, to really get them wholly invested in your product. Those, just having one pay-per-view over there a year, or, back in the day, like that SummerSlam that was in England, that was huge. And then WrestleMania 6 being in Canada, I believe the Toronto Sky Dome, if I'm not mistaken. A little bit of Canadian fun fact, little Canadian history there for you. I think that really has a long-lasting effect. And I would argue that having WrestleMania 6 there is basically what made Canada a stronghold for WWF going into the 90s. And then Bret Hart's, road to prominence also had a huge effect. So, I'm trying to really establish WWF here. We do have good popularity. It's not as high as it is in America. It's about mid-80s, whereas American popularity is starting to creep up to the high 80s. So there is a slight bit of lag, but I think, especially with this pay-per-view, we can potentially bolster that number up. So here we have AJ Kong, the WWF Women's Champion, going up against former WWWA Champion Yukari Omari, and Kong comes out the victor. And then we have Bam Bam Bigelow going mano a mano with Paul Orndorff. Orndorff will be leaving very soon. Right now there's a bidding war between World Class Championship and the WCW. So, and he is he's 39, and as you can see, he's already beginning to hit physical limitations. Not to mention the fact that there was not a lot of chemistry did not help him. But I mean, I think 60s is about where he would be capped. And this was a 13-minute match. So to have him visibly tiring toward the end, they are definitely going to have some trouble. Obviously, he could be used to put over mid-carders at this stage. I mean, that's basically where Bam Bam's at. Just unfortunate that, me as a booker never was able to fully realize his potential in the company. He definitely could have been a good IC champ, tag champ if he had a tag partner that could have, matched his capabilities. But it is what it is, But let's get on to the main card, and here we promote both of the opening matches here tonight. Taker v Sting, Bret versus Misawa. We had Taker attack Sting on the TVs following the Crockett Cup. And Taker is one of those mysterious characters, obviously, in real life and in the game, to where we're not quite sure what his motivations are. It seems as though there is some influence from the $1 Million Corporation, but we don't really see him get any, direct instructions from DiBiase, but he does lurk around during some of their promos, and he's often included in beatdowns that benefit DiBiase exclusively. So there's definitely a string there for sure, but we're not sure why Sting is in the Undertaker's crosshairs. And as we're talking about crosshairs, we have the Hitman going up against Misawa. Bret basically in kind of babyface fashion called out Misawa after having lost the IC championship at WrestleMania. Bret was in that 6-way match, and he said, look, we both think we should be the rightful champion. Let's go one-on-one on my home turf and sort out which one of us is the better of the two. They have a great rivalry going at this point. Great matches prior. And I think this one will be solid. I don't think it'll be the best one. This is just an early prediction because I did go for a technical masterclass yet again. They definitely do better when it's a spectacle. But who knows? Misawa, he gained a lot of experience, a lot of popularity prior, but it's Canada, so maybe that'll benefit Bret Hart. Nonetheless, two interesting matchups and definitely a hot start to the card. And who knows? Bret's getting a match here on his home turf. I've always wanted to do a Japanese, pay-per-view card, and maybe that'll be a thematic one. Let me know in the comments if that interests you. I definitely is something that I'm thinking of, but I'm not sure whether we'll be able to do that, fulfill that in '89. Popularity-wise, I don't know if we've even reached the 70s in any region in Japan. So Not sure if we'll be able to, but who knows? Maybe we'll go out on a limb and try it. I certainly have enough Japanese stars, Misawa being chief among them, and oh man. Oh well, let's keep it moving. Let's get into Taker v Sting, and obviously Undertaker's in-ring performance not great, and I think that my statement earlier about the popularity being understated, I think I underestimated that. I think it is a bit stronger than what I had anticipated, but that's why it's in the opening match. So Taker doesn't have a whole lot of exposure in Canada. TVs do get broadcasted to Canada and Japan, but nonetheless, still, it is limited and not a lot of live shows in Canada. I did have a couple live shows in between the Crockett Cup and this pay-per-view for this very reason. Nonetheless, Sting takes home the victory in a decent bout with not a lot of heat by DQ. During the match, we had Erwin R. Shyster run in, and it says attack the Undertaker. That is a mistake on my part. In reality, IRS would have attacked Sting, leading to the DQ. So now pieces are starting to fall into place. Obviously, it seems as though Sting is a wanted man, and even though Taker did not get the victory, somebody has got the final laugh. Then we go into the Bret Hart and Misawa match, and what did I say earlier? Man, Bret is certainly over here, and this one exceeded my expectations, ladies and gentlemen. And it definitely shouldn't have. And honestly, the reason why it did exceed my expectations is because Bret, I was looking at the list of most popular, and in Canada, Bret was not in. He might have been in the top 20, but he was not in the top 10. Savage, Hogan, Piper, I think even Flair was in the top 10. Andre, however, he's retired and in the Hall of Fame. Side note, the Hall of Fame, I'm not sure if I did clarify this. I know that on videos prior, I was trying to rifle through 4 members were inducted in this class on WrestleMania weekend. Andre, the Savages, Afa and Sika, and Billy Graham, the superstar Billy Graham, also was inducted. That was the 4th member who I could not remember. But yeah, I mean, Bret is freaking magic in the ring. Perhaps part of that is the chemistry, and I think the only thing that held Misawa back was just popularity in Canada, but hey, this will help him for sure. Get yourself a Molson, kid. Canadian bacon, and go to Tim Hortons. You're part of the crew now. And this match does in 16 minutes what I think the rest of the matches on the card may struggle doing. We'll see. Definitely this is a stacked card for sure. So who knows about that? That might just be me being cynical again. But great wrestling. Decent reaction from the crowd. Whatever. 91. I'll take it. And Bret Hart defeats Misawa via the sharp shooter after his manager Jimmy Hart interferes, and Bret gets a victory over Misawa on his home turf. So great second match of the night. Definitely cleans up after that Sting and Taker oversight prior. And here, the feud that just won't quit, ladies and gentlemen. They've been going at it for quite a while. Savage had kind of thought that he had moved on, especially after winning the Crockett Cup. DiBiase just won't let him go. He challenged him again, and Savage just kind of poo-pooed it. It led to DiBiase having to escalate, having his goons intimidate him. And then Savage said, look, you got it, under one condition, and that is a last man standing stipulation for their match. So that will certainly be an exciting one, and these two can cut promos like nobody else. But before we get to that, we have the Brain Busters going up against the Rock and Roll Express. And Brain Busters have definitely been on a hot streak. But again, the majority of that hot streak has been taking place in American territory. So, and what I thought was going to be a very strong start to their tag title reign, slightly disappointing. But you know what? It is what it is. Brain Busters retain and probably gain some influence here in Canada, which is pretty cool. Rock and Roll, always a great, team to go up against. One of the original two tag teams that we brought in, and they have definitely been a staple of the tag division ever since. Without these two teams, Rock and Roll and the Brain Busters, I'm not sure that we would have been able to reach the heights that we did. And be on the lookout. I think that this is a deceiving start for the Brain Busters. Once we're back on their home turf, next pay-per-view, I think their match against whomever it happens to be is going to be definitely, it's going to be a good one, I would expect. Especially, they've been gaining popularity like crazy, just being associated with Flair. So be on the lookout for that for sure. But here, decent wrestling, not much heat. Okay, Brainbusters get the victory. Tully Blanchard defeats Ricky Morton with a handful of tights. That is their first defense. And let's get into the Falls Count Anywhere match. Savage versus DiBiase. Their long-standing rivalry rekindled. 94 match. An exceptional match. DiBiase defeats Savage. Savage had been picking up victories over Savage like crazy while still maintaining tremendous popularity and momentum. Despite that, Savage could not beat the 10 count after Vader got involved. This was kind of a pivot point. We've seen Vader and Savage in the past, and here possibly setting the seeds to see them again. Also leads to the question, what is DiBiase going to be up to next? This is obviously a huge win. Savage had been the champ for a year exactly, and with DiBiase being a former champ and now beating Savage, what is he gonna? What step is he gonna take next? That's definitely what the questions we want people asking. Try to get some intrigue in the storylines. Now we got two people who had been in a long-standing rivalry, and this seems like a good deviation point where now they can kind of go in their own separate paths, at least for now. But who knows? I mean, they could be hooking up next week for all, or next pay-per-view for all we know. But ultimately, we're going to have to see where this one goes next. Then we have Hulk and Piper both cutting promos on one another. They also have a long-standing rivalry dating all the way back to WrestleMania 2, even before WrestleMania 2. Over 3 years later, here we are, and they are facing off once again. The crux of this rivalry, Roddy Piper brought back Piper's Pit And if you don't know, if you haven't heard me mention on videos prior, Piper's kind of a bona fide movie star. Currently, he was in They Live, and now he is off to film another movie in a little over 2 months. So he's been kind of gloating, putting down his guests, and his last guest was, you guessed it, Hulk Hogan. And Hogan said, "Look, Piper, I used to know you before you were conceited, before you were narcissistic, before you only cared about yourself. I remember you were a good friend to me. You were a good friend to Savage. You were a good friend to most of the people on this roster. But now you're only friends with the man in the mirror. Your only goal is to put yourself over. You think that these titles, these accolades, these headlines mean more than the character inside your soul. Well, I'm gonna set you back on the right track." And he stood up to him, he got right in his face, and then they started exchanging barbs, and they had to get pulled apart before fists started flying, and the match was set here at Canadian Stampede. Perhaps two of the biggest active superstars as far as popularity goes in Canada, and they are going to go one-on-one here at Canadian Stampede. Definitely a co-main event you are not going to want to miss. But I believe there is a IC title bout that is about to go down before we can get to that Hogan-Piper match. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen, a superb wrestling bout with good heat. Dusty Rhodes defeats Harley Race by countout. Let me get to the crux. Let me get to the backstory of this rivalry. Dusty Rhodes is now full member of the WWF, and him and Harley go way, way back. Harley, a former member of the NWA, multiple time NWA champ. Dusty Rhodes, a NWA champ as well, and going back years. They crossed paths a few times, and Dusty was actually with kind of a few friends from JCP, and Harley Race, walked right up to him. He said, "Hey, I remember you," and this is kind of a character that we have built for Harley in the WWF, and Harley spat in his face and walked away. And Dusty was chasing after him, and his friends, the people he was talking to, held him back. Then on TV, Dusty called him out. He said, "Look, I'm coming for that title." And Harley, kind of again disrespecting him, just gave him the match. Didn't put up much of a fight. And here, you would think he wants to fight him head on, and perhaps he was outmatched and just stayed out. Doesn't say. I don't believe it was an intentional count out. I think it was just a count out. So perhaps they just were a good enough match for each other that they stayed on the outside, and both couldn't, or Dusty couldn't carry him in. Maybe a miscalculation on his part. Regardless, Dusty does pick up a victory over Harley, but he does not get the title. Both guys over in Canada, and another great match on this card. So obviously, as I was kind of getting into before, but did not finish the point, Harley is that rough and rugged kind of take no prisoners guy who doesn't respect anyone. He's kind of an outlaw, much like what Stan Hansen and kind of Bruiser Brody is. He kind of he's in that ilk. And he's a real wrestler's wrestler. He's a man's man, and he doesn't respect anyone who gets in his way. And he probably looked at Dusty, and it kind of reminds him of his past. Maybe that's why he doesn't like him, and the fact that Dusty stuck out, stuck it out in JCP until it basically was absorbed by WWF. And Harley feels like, well, I should be the kind of like that fifth-year senior in high school who likes to pick on the freshmen who come in, try to bully them and haze them. Harley's kind of like that guy. All the other WWF guys have graduated, and they're kind of beyond that. But Harley's that fifth-year senior who likes to give wedgies to the new guys coming in because he probably remembers his freshman year, and someone has to pay for all the years of discomfort he had. Probably a bad metaphor, but maybe you got some entertainment out of it. So, regardless, he's disrespectful, but Dusty got the best of him in this contest, but Harley keeps the strap. Moving forward, we have Roberts cutting a promo. He will be going up against Ric Flair, mano a mano, in the main event. On TV, Jake the Snake had won a one-on-one contest. Flair definitely discounted him, disparaged him on the TVs leading up to this pay-per-view. Flair is, he's the king of the mountain, Space Mountain. And here in Canada, he's going to show all these Canadian fans why American-made means better. He's got his leather boots, he's got his fur jacket, and he's got that diamond-studded robe. Not to mention count 'em, 2 titles on each shoulder. Woo! 2 titles, 1 on each shoulder, I should say. Flair is the man, but Jake the Snake is set to strike. And this will be interesting. Definitely, it wasn't necessarily one of the dream matches where I'm like, man, I have to do this match as soon as Flair gets the title. But it's definitely an interesting matchup. Stylistically, this I think will be a very tough matchup for Flair. And definitely an interesting first title defense for his WWF title. But this is the co-main event we are rolling into, and a 99 match. Wow, look at how freaking over Roddy Piper is here in Canada, and he is a hometown kid. People do, I think, maybe think he is Scottish. He was actually born in Canada, to the best of my knowledge. An unbelievable match. Hulk Hogan defeats Piper with the big leg drop, and you gotta get Hogan over, man. You gotta get Hogan over, even though Piper is he's the man on the moon. I mean, he is over. He is out of this world over. 100 performance, that is crazy, and Hogan holds up his end of the bargain. A 99 match, I will certainly take it. Their long-standing rivalry, Piper had always kind of been the one who was getting over on Hogan, and now Hogan seems to have kind of let go of the fact that Piper, it was his fault that Piper turned to the dark side. But now I think he's come to the realization that, well, at a certain point, it became a concerted effort on Piper's part to make it, to sustain this heel turn. Because it allows him to cut corners and get the goals that he wants to attain. It's become a lifestyle that has been beneficial for Piper. And now Hogan has kind of absolved himself of, holding this against himself. So, and I think that is why he has been able to best Piper in their latest meetings. Not to mention, and this is some backstage insider info, Piper is going to film a movie, and Hogan's our figurehead. So do the math on that one, ladies and gentlemen, and hopefully that doesn't take you out of it too much. But there's a business side to every wrestling decision. And as much as we hate it, sometimes it has to be done. And I think this is beneficial. Somewhat beneficial for us, and kind of had to be done. So we did the honors, and what do we have here? It's a Flair promo, yes, but Bruiser is in there, and he is attacking Hulk Hogan. They last met at the Crockett Cup, and now Bruiser is laying the boots to Hogan after his grueling match against Roddy Piper. And we are definitely going to have to see where this one goes moving forward. So far, we have both of the Mega Powers attacked. Who knows? Maybe we're going to have the Mega Powers reunite, and maybe DiBiase is going to be linking up with Savage yet again. But big story here. Bruiser attacks Hogan. He's definitely trying to get some retribution after that Crockett Cup Finals loss to the Mega Powers. But maybe there are some other ulterior motives for Bruiser. But Flair gets his promo in. This kind of, I would say, maybe interjects it, and then we go back to Flair. So maybe we get 2 minutes of a Flair promo, and then something cuts in, 2 minutes of that attack, and then back to Flair for 2 more minutes, just to maybe comment on it, and then back to the task at hand. And here we are going straight into our main event, Flair versus Jake the Snake, for Flair's first attempt at a defense of the WWF Heavyweight title. And it is an exceptional match. Flair defeats Roberts via submission after Barry Windham distracts Jake the Snake. This makes it defense number 1 for the World Heavyweight title, WWF that is, and defense number 11 for the NWA title. He put both on the line here in Canada, and that's the way we do it. Roberts 93, Flair 94, 90 rating. I will take it, certainly take it after that frickin' WrestleMania debacle. It's kind of good to know. You got to find out these ways. I mean, I do like having it like first time they touch is here on pay-per-view. But it's obviously a risk. I mean, if this one would have tanked, man, I think I would have just got the title off of Flair as soon as possible, because it would have been a completely snake-bitten title reign at this point. But hey, his first WWF title defense is pretty good. As far as it definitely got off to a rocky start, but now this is a recovering step. I definitely have some notes that I want to hit for his title run, but we're just getting started, ladies and gents, and Canadians, this one was for you. I said it before, I'll say it again. I hope that everyone who watched this video enjoyed, and let's go to the pay-per-view rating. 93, fairly solid. Definitely, I think it's going to bolster some popularity here in Canada, and you need shows like this. Hope you like the themed show, and I love hearing from you guys. I like the comments. I always try to get back to you. For some reason I don't get notifications on them, so I just have to check the video from time to time. If you found this on Reddit, leave a comment there, or leave a comment on the video, and I'll try to get back to you. Let me know if there's certain themes that you would like to see for the to replace the Supercard shows. This is my latest example. Crockett Cup was another one. So if there's something, any ideas, let me know, and I will consider it and possibly incorporate it into my schedule. Right now I'm trying to come up with more themes to kind of vary it up, keep it interesting. This one was fairly basic, but nonetheless, we're in Ontario, the CNE Stadium, so it's big news, guys. And you know what? You know what I'm going to say? Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the flippity floop.